Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to another exciting and informative edition of Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning. And today's episode is brought to you in part by our community partner program, the Business RadioX Main Street Warriors, defending capitalism, promoting small business, and supporting our local community. For more information, go to mainstreetwarriors.org. And a special note of thanks to our title sponsor for the Cherokee chapter of Main Street Warriors, Diesel David Inc. Please go check them out at dieseldavid.com. You guys are in for a real treat. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast Chapter Co-Coordinator with ACAP Cobb Cherokee, Mr. Christian Kuswita. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Stone. Thank you for having me here.
Well, it is a delight to have you in the studio. I have a ton of questions. I know we're not going to get to them all, but I think it'd be a great idea if you could share with me and our listeners mission, purpose. What are you and your team over there at ACAP really trying to do for folks, man?
Yeah, so ACAP stands for Adult Children of Aging Parents. The mission is simple. We want to provide free community and education to adult children and also their, the spouses of an older adult, to provide them equip them with information before a crisis happens. A fall, for example, a hospitalization, chronic diseases. A lot of this happens and create that crisis, and we want to be there before that happens to get them the information, community, and help that they need.
Well, it sounds like a noble pursuit to me, and I got to tell you, you're striking a chord. I shared with you before we came on air, my folks, 81, I said 81 and 83. Actually, Dad's birthday was just the other day. So for a little while, 81 and 84. And I got to believe there are things that my brother and I should be doing to help them get prepared for this next stage. And I got to confess, I don't even know. I do know that we don't know the questions we ought to be asking, the things we ought to be doing, the challenges we should be anticipating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the mission started with my own experience and then the pursuit of actually helping others in my company. So my dad actually passed away about 12 years ago from a stroke. It's not the stroke that killed him. It was the isolation that killed him, because we actually got a really good personal care aide that could help him, but then the person could not really connect with my dad. And so that isolation, since everybody worked, really that I think what really made him give up on life and then passed away, that actually started me to open Comfort Care Home Care, which is an in-home care that help a lot of older adults in Cobb Cherokee with their needs, their personal care needs, their companionship need. However, what we found a lot of the times is that, when somebody seek help to us or many other professionals that help seniors in Cobb Cherokee, is when a crisis happens. When a crisis happens, people's life are turning upside down, especially their adult children, their spouses, and then they're sometimes make the wrong decisions about things. They don't know a lot about what they need to do. They chose, wrong companies. They got into a lot of, frauds and stuff like that, scams. And so I think what's important about ACAP is providing those information early on, equipping themselves with those information. And so when crisis happens, they're ready, right? They're ready. They don't have to be there. The process can be a lot easier, right? And the journey can be easier if they're equipped with the right information and resources.
This sounds to me like the best time to do this is yesterday, and the next best time is today.
Exactly.
And quit saying tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's why ACAP is not so. The meeting is once a month. The ACAP Cobb Cherokee meets once a month. Usually, it's going to be the third Thursday of the month, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock in Marietta. But we are online too. So if they go to acapcommunity.org, for example, there's a ton of information. So when you said yesterday and today, I completely agree, because even if our show or our meeting is not until, sometime third week of June, but they can go to acapcommunity.org and still get a lot of podcasts, a lot of recorded of the past meetings. There's blogs. So you can start learning about that particular, all the aspects right now.
Okay, I want to hear more about this backstory, because I think what you shared was what compelled you to get into this business of home care was your experience with your father. Say more about that, if you will. And I'm interested in the notion of, you also just opening a business. I know as an entrepreneur myself, that can be a little bit daunting. What was that experience like?
It was interesting. So we actually opened our business in August 2020, and you know what happened in August 2020,
yeah.
Right? And so, but going back to why we did this and why my wife and I opened this company is, as we saw what happened to my dad, and by the way, my wife's grandmothers, both of them actually passed away due to falls. One of her grandmother actually had an incident where she fell, wasn't found for probably 18 hours. And the only reason that she was found was because, her caregiver came in the morning. The door was locked, and she almost left until she saw the curtains starts moving. And she was, what's going on there? The curtain was moving. So then she called 911. They opened the door, and she was lying there for 18 hours. And she still had the strength to just pull the curtain slowly, just in hope that it would alert somebody. And luckily, the caregiver saw that. She went to the hospital, rushed to the hospital, and she passed away. So, those information and those experiences that we had really compelled us to look at, how can we help? We can't help them any longer because they already passed. But how can we then help, somebody else that is hopefully not in that experience, but help them to live independently and safely for as long as they can? And I think the in-home care industry is what we chose to. And I tell you, we've helped so many older adults live safely and independently. We call it live their best life possible.
Yeah. So you've been at it a little while now. I can't believe you started when you started. That in itself is incredible to me. We were able to weather that storm, but I don't know if we'd have ever gotten off the ground, me and Lee, with Business RadioX Network, if we'd have started then. But now that you've been at it a while, what are you finding the most rewarding about the business, about the work? What's the most fun for you?
Well, it's funny. People always ask us, and, of course, you didn't know what the business is all about. And you could ask so many questions during the discovery period, but you wouldn't know until you're really doing it, right? And so, many people came to us and said, hey, you've been in the business for almost 4 years. You're doing really well. You are developing your brand. You're delighting and helping your clients. Is it hard? And I said, absolutely, it is hard. It is the hardest thing that my wife and I had done in our life, right? But I always tell this analogy about golf, right? I suck at it. Okay. I'm very bad at golf. I knew we were going to be friends.
Me too.
Right. But I love going out and go to golf course because, some of the most beautiful sceneries are in golf courses, but I don't play well. But every time I go out and play a round of golf, whether it's 9 holes or 18 holes, there was just one hit that made me always come back, right? That one hit that made me mesmerized and said, oh my gosh, I'm so good at this. I love it. I want to go back. I think this work is like that. So whenever my wife and I, all the challenges with finding caregivers, a lot of changes with the client's needs, all those things. Every time we help an individual, and when their spouse or their children came to us and say, hey, Christian and Erlyn, my dad's life, the last 3 months of his life was really helped because of your help and your caregivers. That's the fuel that we get every single day to wake up and help everybody that needs this. That is the purpose of this job.
Well, I can see it in your eyes, and I can hear it in your voice, and I know that you're quite sincere when you relay that. I gotta believe that you run into some of the same I'll call them myths, mistakes, misperceptions, misconceptions about this whole arena. Can you share some with us so that we can be on the lookout and try to guard ourselves against falling into these traps?
Yeah. So you're meaning about in-home care, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few, we call it myth on in-home care. I think the biggest one is Medicare, right? So some people would say, oh yeah, does it cover by Medicare? In-home care is not Medicare covered. The only reason for that is because Medicare will cover health-related issues or activities. So things like wound care, changing or colostomy bags, oxygen. Now, in-home care is deemed or classified as non-medical. And therefore, unfortunately, it is not covered by Medicare. There are some other sources of payments other than out-of-pocket. Most of our clients pay out-of-pocket. But then long-term care insurance can cover home care if they have VA benefits called aid and attendance benefit can cover that. And then lastly, Medicaid can cover that, right? So that's the first myth. The second myth is we talk about that non-medical side of it. People always say, hey, can you change the oxygen level, for my dad? Or can you provide administration of medication? In home care, we can't do that because we are non-medical. A good example is the medication. We can remind somebody to take their medication, but we can't manage or administer the medication. So the medication have to be already managed by, the family members or even a pharmacy in pill boxes. We can then remind the client to take that medications. So those are the two biggest, I would say, myth in home care. There are certainly several others, but those are the two biggest ones.
Well, then it occurs to me that perhaps many people should start earlier than later, even if it's because it's not like we got to have you again. You know what? It's my show. Let's talk about me a minute. My folks are 81 and 84. My brother's down in Tallahassee. Right now things are pretty good. Mom did have a pretty nasty fall not too long ago. And things are fine, but how bad would it be, or reframed differently, how great would it be if somebody came in, provided a little companionship, gave them a little bit of a break from each other, maybe help prep a meal or maybe some of these other services. I don't know what they're allowed to do, but just kind of keep things on track and be around. That's right in your wheelhouse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you are absolutely right. There are certainly many individuals, older adults that really don't know what in-home care is, and they resist the care, right? And especially when you already have a crisis, that can be difficult. So easing them in is a great idea. A lot of home care companies, I think almost all of them have a minimum, and the minimums can be different. Like in our case, for example, the minimum is only 4 hours a day. We don't have a requirement that you have to come, that we have to come 3 days a week. We just have the requirement of 4 hours per day. That means that, we have clients that call us for once a month for transportation, right? And so we want to make it very easy and very simple for you to use us. And then when we start doing the companionship, right, early on, we can set it where, it's a fun kind of trip with a friend. Now, again, many of our caregivers are older too. Our average caregiver age is about 45, maybe 48 years old. And so that's good because one is they're more reliable, right? The older they get, the more responsible they are. The older they get, the more passionate and have a lot more experience. And so we can really, truly do that companionship. We have a client now that does twice a week with us at 4 hours, and she just goes shopping with them. Like go shopping, watch a movie, just have fun, go to restaurants. She lives in a community, but she really doesn't connect with the people there because she is still very independent. Mobility is very good. And so she wants to do the thing that she would like to do. Our caregiver is 48, I think, the one that helped her. And so it really fits with her a lot. It's almost like a daughter that she never had. So easing in, we can design an activity for that 4 hours, depending on what the client likes, your mom or dad, for example. And then we can make sure that those activities are meaningful. And then if something happens, in the future, they don't they already have that experience with caregivers, right? And so they're more willing to accept the help. And I think that is really crucial.
Yeah, clearly there's the immediate value that I feel like you outlined very well and I find incredibly compelling, but it makes that next conversation, that next set of conversations easier when it's time to transition and ramp up the level of care that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. So from doing a companionship and transportation care to then next step would be personal care, much easier when they already start at the beginning. Even if they're doing it once a month or once every week or twice every 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. To start is always a good directions as well.
So what I'm picking up from this already, so thank you. This has been incredibly valuable for me. I hope the listeners are getting something out of it, but this is a great opportunity for Stone to learn something. If you want to talk to smart people and learn something, get yourself a radio show. But what I'm picking up from this is, Russ and I, my little brother and I, we could begin almost immediately to avail ourselves of this education and input from ACAP. And at the same time, maybe one of our early activities is to look into just getting a little bit of companionship, just, to get things going. And then we touched on it briefly, but I get the idea that there's tremendous value in getting all of your ducks in a row, like where's, and take all the help I can get with approaching the conversation. Where's the money? Where's the insurance? How do you want things done? There's a lot to do.
Yeah. And that's a great point, Stone. So ACAP, is a nonprofit organization and it is by chapters. Our chapter, of course, is Cobb Cherokee. It is run by volunteers of leadership team. We have 15 leadership teams in our team. Mm-hmm. And Kelly and I handpick all of those people in there to make sure that two things. One is we have a very diversified industries experts in the team. So, for example, Kelly is in senior placement, right? Helping seniors to look for independent living, community, or assisted living memory care. I'm in-home care. So we go and make sure that people live safely, live their best life possible. We also have Nelson Elder Care Law is represented, somebody from Medicare, somebody from Edward Jones, financial planners, moving managers, community is represented. So we have modification company. And so that's number one. So the diversification of the leadership is important because we want to make sure that if there's any questions, like I have to be honest, I don't know all the questions. I don't know all the answers about older adults and their needs because I'm only very focused on one side of the industry. But if somebody comes to me, I tell them I will find the answers, right? I can find the answers because of the people that I'm working with right now. And these ACAP leadership teams really showcase that. The second thing is the people that we chose, that we pick, really think about the others first and not their business, right? Because that's important. And we tell everybody, because again, vendors also come to our meeting in ACAP and we tell them this is a safe space. If you are not a sponsors that provide the funding for us, you have to come with your companies, put them at the door when you come in. Right? There's no solicitation. We even, like our leadership teams, would only wear the ACAP badge. I mean, I'm wearing my Comfort Care badge, but if I go to the meeting and I'm not the sponsor, I'm wearing my ACAP badge. I don't say who I am unless I'm a guest speaker. If I'm guest speaking, we want to make sure that there's credibility. So I have to say, who do I work for? But these individuals that serve the ACAP Cobb Cherokee serve others first and serve their companies later. That's critical because when somebody goes to them and asks them questions, they will give them the real answers about how to help and not about the benefit of their companies. Now, if their company seems to match of what the children is needing, then yeah, hopefully that will connect. But it's to help first and to serve first.
I love it. And people who listen to this show know that we often subscribe to and try to make a point of reminding people to serve first, serve early, serve often. It all comes back to you if it should, and it often should and often does. So when you were making the transition to building your business up, did you have the benefit of one or more mentors to kind of help you navigate the terrain early on, or were you just baptized by fire, or what was that like?
I think it's both. It's both. I think the number one mentor that I have to mention in my life was my dad. So he's an entrepreneur. It's funny that I told him so many times during our conversation, as father and son, I said, I would never work for you. Right? Because the time that he spent away from the family building that business, I think was the number one thing. But guess what? I'm here.
Yeah.
So I think with him is spending time and him mentoring me about how to run a business, because it's not just the sales and marketing side of it, is the customer service and how you treat people, how you treat your employees, how do you build a culture of the companies, how do you then treat your referral sources, right? Your partners. Those are all important. But then also, simple things like, making sure that there's enough toilet papers in your restroom, right? Because that's just, you wear so many hats. But I think seeing him did what he did, growing the company was always, to me, I think it's a number one thing. Secondly, it's my work, my past work in corporate America. I've been very fortunate that I've worked with so many great individuals and mentors, from the different companies I've been. And I've been in different areas such as customer service. I've been in product development, product management, sales and marketing. And I've seen work with operations, manufacturing, things like that. And so I kind of know and want to demonstrate the good things of what I've learned and not to do the bad things that I've learned, right? And so I think that's kind of helpful too in this job. And also interestingly, there were, I would say, 2 or 3 people that really helped me when we first opened the business. And one of them actually is our competitor. One of our competitor became one of my biggest mentor. And also there's another lady that actually owns a sister company that is owned by the same company that owned the brand Comfort Care that also help us. So there's 2 or 3 that really just, we still have to do everything, right? It's our company, but they kind of put us in the right direction and pointed us to the right opportunities and kind of, guide us through the way. And I'm forever thankful to those people, right? Because again, I think you have to have great mentors in your life, not only for work, but also personal life, right? Because that's how we all learn, because we're never perfect.
It's so encouraging and reinforcing for you to say that about mentors in general, but encouraging for you to share your experience with a competitor. I had a mentor early in my career. I kind of grew up in the training and development world, and he said, Stone, serve your competitors and you won't have any. And to a degree that has come so true. And this whole serve first, serve early, serve often value system, clearly you have it as well.
Yeah. And to be honest, and if you look at the statistics, and it's really staggering, that I think every day 10,000 U.S. citizens turn 65. Right. And so that statistics and the change in our demographic every day in the U.S. is staggering, meaning, and plus also a lot of those people that turn 65 will have issues. It could be chronic diseases, could be dementia and other diseases, Alzheimer's, Lewy body, vascular dementia, things like that. And they will need help. And I think it is illogical, and it's not logical for you to push away your competitors, because at the same time, as a company, you're going to need help. You need all that you can have to help, the seniors. And so I don't think our company is equipped to handle everybody. And so that's why the competitive landscape is important. And we want great competitors, because if we need to refer some of our clients because we can't handle them or the volume, then we have people that we trust that we can refer to. And we refer to our competitors too, for that. And we vet them. We know who's good. We know who's new. We know who's not very good. So when we have to refer, we refer to those that we really, really trust.
One of the things that I absolutely love about the way that you've chosen to approach and serve your market is I'm getting the distinct impression that you're the guy that knows the guy. As for example, I have gotten to know the folks over at Nelson Elder Care Law, but boy, if I were on the hunt for somebody, I got to tell you, after this conversation, my first call, it's to Christian, right? And you clearly have that position in the community. I got to believe you enjoy being the guy that knows the guy too, right?
I do. I do because I think, again, the brought up, from my dad, I've been always very social. I like to know people. I like to build relationships. And so I think logically when we opened the company, my wife said, I'm not doing things that you're going to do. You're going to do, and you'll be the face of the company. And so I did. And part of that too, is to find and network with like-minded individuals. And there is actually a really large, very passionate, very intimate networking in Cobb Cherokee for seniors called the Cobb Cherokee Services for the Elderly. And we meet twice, we meet once a month, but we rotate between Cobb location and Cherokee location. We are, it's funny when I first joined, it's during COVID, the first meeting that we had after COVID where we could do a face-to-face, there was only less than maybe 25 people. Now we have about 70, 80 people strong that come in. We have more than 150 members, and so, but those are the people that are, serving, in-home care. They are hospice, home health, elder care laws, realtors that specialize in older adults, moving managers. So those are the people that I work with and I network with. And when I say intimate and passionate, it's funny because the group grows every single time, but then you have that core people that is always there. And then the people that come in that have a different intent of just serving others, you can see that they come in once and they just don't fit in, right? And so that's the thing about this networking group is that, this is one that I think I would recommend if somebody is serving the older adult community. You can go to Cobb Cherokee Service for the Elder website, look at their meetings, come and join us, because I think you'll find this networking is also very valuable.
So you touched on a pro tip that probably applies to setting up and building a business with anyone, but particularly a spouse, and that's clarity of roles. Say more about that and any other tips you might have for a couple that are looking at launching and growing a business.
Well, what's funny is my wife never worked in a day in her life until we opened this company.
Really?
Yes. So she has a marketing degree. But then because we immigrated from Indonesia in 99. And so with my schooling and then work, she couldn't work because she was my dependent until probably, 6 or 7 years ago when we got our green card. Actually, more than that, like 10, 15 years ago. So when we opened the company, it was the right time because, we are financially sound. So we could have investment to open the company. And our kids are much older. And so they're self-sufficient. I joke with my wife, like, at that time we could leave the kids for a month. As long as the fridge is full, they're not going to die. They'll be okay. Right. They have a car. They can, one of them can drive them around. They'll be fine. Right. And then we love Atlanta area. So we moved around so much. And now that we're in the Atlanta area, the diversity, the weather, the location, the people, we just loved it. So we want to plant our roots here. We said, you know what? We're not going to move anywhere. I don't like my job and I want to quit. I said, what's your thought about opening our own company? And so the funny thing about when I said that she never worked in her life is that she did not have that corporate America mentality, right? Good example. When we first open our door, of course we have to put orientation for our caregivers. I developed a 35 pages PowerPoint slides, right? That I put on the TV, and every caregiver that came in, I said, okay, here's number one, safety is first, blah, blah, blah. And I went through everything, and then guess what? They all fell asleep. They all fell asleep, right? Because again, caregivers are not corporate America. They don't have that experience. They see me as, well, just somebody that worked in companies. Like, that's not my style. I don't connect with them. My wife just said, forget it. Don't do that. So then she started with just talking one-on-one, just having conversation, talking about life, talking about their kids, talking about, where they moved from, and just basically getting to know them. At the same time, then, they're doing the same thing. They're signing off the paperwork. They're doing the drug test. They're doing the background check and all those things. And, it took longer. It took 2 hours, 3 hours to get it. But then it's so much different because the caregiver is starting to connect with her on a personal level, right? And so this industry is not about, pay is important, but it's not about benefits. In-home care companies have probably the less benefit than other healthcare type industries. So being able to connect on a personal level that my wife can do helps tremendously. And that's the thing that I value from her. At first I said, you got to learn everything from me. But then after I see some example that she did, I'm like, damn, don't learn from me. Do what you do. Because I think what you do work. Then why do I have to push that? And so that's been the case. I mean, she's been rocking it. We've been able to recruit caregivers tremendously. We've been able to get clients being happy because she, very personal, not only to the caregivers, but the clients. And so that works. But also working as a couple has a lot of issues too, right? Because again, there's two different mindset trying to run the same thing, trying to row in the same direction. And that will always come to conflicts. But as long as you know where the line, you draw the line, right? Like, I'm marketer, I'm client relationship. I do all of the other things that are business related, but then she deals with the operation side of it. And if I don't try to cross that line, I think we will have a pretty good relationship at the end. Trust me, I never slept in the couch yet since the 4 years that we opened the company. So I think we're still doing pretty good.
That's an important metric. You don't have to sleep on the couch. You're doing pretty good.
Right, percent how much you sleep on the couch during the 4 years. That's a really good. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I don't know when or how you would find the time, but I'm going to ask anyway. Passions, interests, hobbies that you pursue outside the scope of this work? Is there anything you like nerd out about and go do to just kind of get away from it for a bit?
Yeah, so we like to travel. And so hopefully we'll still have time to travel. The bad part about still working in the business, not on the business, we still have to work during our travel. So if we have to go to a vacation, we still have to work. We love to play tennis. And so we played a lot. And I think because just the tradition, I think we're getting sucked also to pickleball. So we're starting to play pickleball as well. Yeah. We enjoy great friends and food. And so we get together a lot with some of our great friends and just, drink, wine and food. Those are probably some, and spend time with the families, of course, right? So those are some of the things that we love to enjoy as a family and together.
So do you find that when you do step away a little bit, even if you're still working a little bit, that it does kind of give you a chance to recharge, refresh, get a different perspective, and be that much better equipped when you get back to serve even better? I know I do.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two parts. Number one is if when we do really vacation with the families, we got so tired when we come back, we need a vacation.
Right.
To me, I think my recharge time is the weekends where there's nothing going on.
Mm.
And, I just take my wife, we go to winery drive and just do nothing. And, at that point in time, when it's like in the afternoon, that the shift starts in the morning or the shift will not start again at night. That middle part is kind of void, which is great, right? So there's no issues.
Yeah.
That's where we can really enjoy. So we just sit down, get a bottle of wine, look at the views, drink, talk, eat. Maybe there's music there. Or if there's just a time that there's nothing going on, we just can, go to our neighborhood pool and just relax there. Those are the type of things. Vacations, I think we're trying to do too much sometimes that we're like, oh my gosh, like I need another 3 days. But those relaxing moment, weekends are the one that I really enjoy to recharge myself.
All right. Before we wrap, let's make sure that our listeners have good, easy to reach coordinates to tap into all the marvelous work that ACAP is doing. And let's make sure that if they want to have a more substantive conversation with you or somebody on your team, maybe they're even interested in working with you, or maybe they're like me and Russ. It's time to learn more. But let's leave them with some coordinates, whatever you think is appropriate, websites, LinkedIn, whatever.
Yep. So ACAP, you can go to acapcommunity.org. So acapcommunity.org, and then look for the Cobb and Cherokee chapter. So if you go to location, go to Georgia, there's a Cobb and Cherokee location. That's specifically to us. There are also 2 other in Georgia. So if you're listening, let's say from Atlanta area, there is the North Atlanta one. So you can look at that. They meet on a different day. I think they meet on the 2nd Tuesday. We meet on the 3rd Thursday. And then there's also in Gainesville in Hall County. And then if you go to acapcommunity.org, you can also look at all of the podcasts, all of the videos, recordings, and, things like that, topics. You can go there. And then if you want to learn more about ACAP or about Comfort Care, about our company in Cobb and Cherokee, feel free to give me a call. My direct cell number is 770-294-7176. You can text me there. You can call me there. That's my cell phone that I carry everywhere. And so it's 24 hours a day. So if you have any questions about anything, just let me know on that number.
Well, Christian, it has been an absolute delight having you in the studio this morning. Thank you for your insight, your perspective, your enthusiasm, and your commitment to genuinely serving. This has been a marvelous way to invest a Tuesday morning, man, and we sure appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Stone. Thank you for listening.
My pleasure. All right, until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Christian Kuswita with ACAP Cobb and Cherokee, and everyone here at the Business Radio X family saying we'll see you again on Cherokee Business Radio.